Good morning, everyone. The
Morning.
International Council for Caring Communities is honored to organize with our partners this virtual session in support of the 60th session of the United Nations Commission for Social Development. ICC is a nonprofit organization that has special consultative status with the Economic and Social Council of the United States, of the United Nations, established in 1963. It acts as a bridge linking government, civil society, organizations, the private sectors, universities, and the United Nations in their efforts as a catalyst. It fosters a new solution that enhance and encourage adaptation and or replication of both developing and developed countries toward new ways of viewing an integrated society for all ages. ICC is mainstream the impact of the new digital era of the 21st century, growing age quick. Today, we are extremely excited to present to you our premiere presentation on connection, hyperconnectivity, connecting the dots, poverty, hunger, and achieving sustainability in a recovering post-COVID world. We will start our presentation today with our host, Mr. Sam Gong. The first presenter today is Dr. Sam Pitroda. Dr. Sam.
Thank you, Georgiana. It is indeed a special privilege and honor for me to be with you all. I'm excited because for the first time in the human history, all 7.5 billion people are essentially connected. They are connected in a very special way with so-called hyperconnectivity, which include variety of technologies and possibilities. Fiber optics, satellite, GPS, smartphones, mobile connectivity, decentralized architecture, AI, machine learning, robotics, sensors, IoT, big data, cloud computing. All of these complex technologies really provide hyperconnectivity like never seen before. Hyperconnectivity is all about connections at very high speed, great deal of content and context. Hyperconnectivity is democratizing knowledge and information, decentralizing decision-making, and basically demonetizing services. What does it really mean to have hyperconnectivity? Does it really mean that we can now improve productivity, efficiency, reduce cost, improve trade, boost economy, provide employment? Or is there a way to use this hyperconnectivity to take human civilization to the next level? That's the question I have been asking for many, many years. COVID-19 has told us that we are all interconnected, interwoven, interdependent, interrelated. What affects one affects all of us. And at the end of the day, COVID-19 also told us that there are only two important things in life: planet and people. Planet is in pain because of environmental blunders, global warming, needed focus on sustainability, and people are in pain because of poverty, hunger, violence. During COVID-19, I had an opportunity to write a book called Redesign the World. Because I realized that the world was last designed at the time I was born in 1942, which gave birth to UN, World Bank, IMF, NATO, WTO, all of these great institutions. That design was based on democracy, human rights, capitalism, consumption, military. With hyperconnectivity, everything we do is essentially obsolete. Hyperconnectivity changes our education, health, governance, financial services, business, trade. There is nothing that we know of today that is not affected because of this hyperconnectivity. All our institutions need to be redefined. We have to have new purpose to take human civilization to the next level. And that purpose is well defined here with focus on poverty, hunger, and sustainability. So new design really need to focus on taking democracy to inclusion, taking human rights to human needs. Existing capitalism hasn't done well for everybody. We need new economy where we think of bottom-up decentralization and really lift millions and millions who are below poverty line. We eliminate hunger. We focus on poverty and we provide sustainable development. We also need to really focus more on conservation and not on consumption. And finally, this is a big call, is to really begin to think about a non-violent world. Today, we spend $2 trillion on military budget when we know that for 200 billion, we can eliminate hunger. For another 200 billion, we can eliminate poverty. But our focus is on different things. So new design that I'm proposing would require new institutions, new focus, new agenda. And I'm delighted that today's agenda about hyperconnectivity to focus on poverty, hunger, and sustainability will add to that conversation. What does it really mean? To me, can we use hyperconnectivity to identify and address the problems related to poverty, hunger, and sustainability in terms of who is poor? Where are they? What do we need to do to deliver to them? What do we need to deliver? How do we produce? Because invariably, best brains in the world are busy solving problems of the rich who really don't have problems to solve. And as a result, problems of the poor don't get the right kind of talent. Problems of the poor really need people like us to focus on hyperconnectivity to deliver new model to eliminate poverty, new ways to address hunger.
One more minute.
And this requires shift in focus from command and control to collaboration, cooperation, communication, and co-creation. I hope today's conversation would add to the need we all feel is essential in terms of using hyperconnectivity to address the challenges of the people at the bottom of the economic pyramid. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sam, for beginning our program today, in which we'll be talking with people from all over the world, from the different countries. And you started us very well with practical solution for enhancing COVID and other inclusive concerns that we have that we must address to bring us together in what we call our hyperconnectivity, connecting the dots. And you have begun our session, and we will continue now with Dr. Naomi Trussler, Associate Professor at the Hebrew University at Jerusalem. Dr. Naomi?
Thank you, Professor Land, for the introduction. and thank you for the invitation to be part of this important panel. My presentation will follow Dr. Sam Fioda ideas with making it more down to earth and its advantages in today's situation. The long-term COVID-19 disease state, accompanied by the forced isolation, compounded the already existing reduced interpersonal and group connectivity and local and global access to food, but of course, not only. Distance from contacts and information sources, COVID-19 related or otherwise, are effectively bridged through connectivity to mass information and data available on the internet. However, the merits are dependent in large measures on the skills and broadband internet availability to the populations, which are not evenly distributed across social groups, economic levels, literacy levels, language, geographic locations, and demographics. Consequently, we cannot rely only on online connectivity, but still have to engage in on-location and face-to-face communication. Researchers at the Faculty of Agriculture at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Israel are actively engaged in online and face-to-face collaborations and knowledge transfer to prevent and combat undernutrition by increasing crop production and developing nutritionally enriched foods through basic and applicable education and research. The first slide, the next slide. Here are some examples. The group led by Dr. Stark collaborates on developing several nutritional enriched food projects. The next slide. Kenya, Uganda, and Malawi, training students and local farmers and engaging local women, next slide, in reintroducing crops like orange maize used for developing vitamin A, zinc, and iron-rich infant food, focusing on sustainable solutions. Next slide. Professor Levavi Sivan, next slide, leads to multinational project dealing with return to the edible fish to Lake Victoria area. Next slide. The project helps Uganda fishermen restore their main source of nutrition, provide income, and prevent the extinction of entire fish populations. At present, 4 large farms with fish ponds are distributed around the lake, supplying fish to 14 villages in the area. Next slide. Students from Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Rwanda also partake in the project's user hyperconnectivity applications. Next slide. Volunteers with Engineers Without Borders, including developing country graduates of the faculty, have established a demonstration farm in Mekelle, Ethiopia. The farm's harvest yielded 10 times more crops than the adjacent sections, which use habitual practices. By connectivity with their applications, the agricultural model can be adopted by small farming communities. Applications such as Olio are prime examples of hyperconnectivity benefits for sharing and exchanging between those that have excess of items or food left over with those that need these items or food at an individual, group, and institution level. It is a crossroad connectivity that enables a healthier planet and reduces waste. Last slide. Though one of the main advantages of online data recording is the ability to share data platforms and aggregate results with the objective of machine learning, presently in some parts of the world, there are too few and not large enough web-based platforms available for recording, saving, and computing the outcomes data. Those that exist, for the most part, might not interact, hence data cannot be aggregated as big data. Also, today, some of the data entered is not standardized or systematic and at times sparse. In some countries, the data is banned from exporting due to legal constraints. These are some of the major barriers to globally using big data methods to achieve effective machine learning in problem resolution and improvement of outcomes in time and cost-effective manner, mainly in low-income and developing countries, but not only in them, as we know. So still, we have a long ways to go to be effective in hyperconnectivity effectiveness. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for presenting to us so very much information regarding technology transfers from the more developed country to those who need help and assistance most, and for using students to do that. We would also encourage you to make notes of the questions you would like to ask later when we come to our question and answer period for the presenters, as they gave us such wonderful information thus far. We look forward to continuing to gaining great information as to how we can connect with each other to help improve all of the hunger, poverty, and for us achieving sustainability during this time. We will now hear from our third presenter, Professor Gisela Lolam. She is an architectural department from Zion Liverpool University in China.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I'm very glad that I can follow straight from Dr. Naomi Trostler, because it links very naturally to the academic side. So as an architect and educator, the importance of sustainable educational, sustainable aspects in architecture is really vital. And as an architect, we deal a lot with people. We'll deal with clients, with design teams. And you can see these are a couple of snapshots of the way we deal with the local community, artists, etc., that we connect to. Now, due to the pandemic, this was not any longer available. So we typically work a lot with the hands and actually sort of create, and we see ourselves positioned between arts and crafts side, and we invite people in to teach our students also how to work with the local crafts. This is a bamboo workshop that we've done in the past, where we are exploring an artistic way to architecture. And this really relies on having somebody in collaboration with the students there. It shows a couple of these projects, and we call them the bamboo clouds that the students did over a 1-week workshop with one of our professors and a Taiwanese artist. And following that, you can see a project that we translated for the local rural community, and it was called a Harvest Art Festival project, where it was initially intended as a temporary installation, but the community asked for the installation to stay because it became quite vital in the rural areas in China. Typically, the children are sent to the grandparents to be brought up in the rural area, so the parents can actually work fully. And this slide actually shows the project that we did on construction with recycling waste of one of our sports center. When it was built, we took the waste products and actually made a cabana out of it. We then also do a lot of collaborations with other architects, which meant actually bringing architects on the site or collaborating, like in the Doshi workshop, where we actually linked with Doshi in India, and we had the partner Rajiv actually on our site. There are a couple of images of the project actually that we've done with the students, which is very graphical work of designing within 1 week a new design under Indian inspirations from Doshi, actually in China. With the pandemic, everything changed, like for everybody. So we had to go a lot more digital. So we found ourselves in the position that 90% of the students were there, but 2/3 of the staff were distributed across the world, and so were 10% of the students. So we ended up doing a lot more digital work. This is a completely taught design studio semester online that was then exhibited as part of the Suzhou Design Week. So we go from very physical arts and crafts interaction and very one-to-one interaction to scenario in the next slide, where we've done a 3D mapping workshop where a lot of the staff, 2/3 were actually abroad. So it was a lot more coordination, and it's very weird when the students are in the building and the staff are actually not, and they're globally distributed from Australia, Europe to the US across different time zones. And this led also to then our physical projects as architect that we do in the next slide, South Korean project that was actually built, and we never went to the site. We never went to actually build it and construct it. We were very fortunate that we've won the award for the best design and then actually could construct it, but it was all done remotely, which was ideal for the local community there because they could actually then interlink and had a garden as a retreat during the lockdown area. It led to more a digital interaction, which is the next slide of a workshop that we did on jewelry design to show also architects that then also can go and do other projects. This is the gardening part we did. Since some of us were trapped in the building, we then sort of said, okay, fine, then let's actually make it, we called it a guerrilla garden project, and our carpenter went ahead and took the steer from going from the robotics arm that he sort of also has in his fab lab to taking over the terrace. And actually we were producing our own food for lunchtime. So we had a very healthy lunch during that time. Venice Biennale, we were selected to be representing China in Venice 2021-22. And this was done completely digital. The students designed the work digital, the presentations and everything was done in a digital format as well. So there was very little interaction between us individually there. And then for the next slide, which is on the Y project, we also took part in the Solar Decathlon, which is a 3.2 million RMB project that is showcasing best of sustainable design in China. And Solar Decathlon, for the ones that are a bit familiar with it, is an initiative by the Ministry of Energy from the US that traveled worldwide to give the opportunity to students to showcase designing sustainable, fully sustainable buildings, again done online, because we could at that time not even get into our university. And a couple of images afterwards that you can see of the actual buildings. So we really changed from a hands-on individual team to building a community of between our staff and students, but also between the community that we normally work with on a completely digital platform. So this project is actually being built, and it's part of the Beijing Winter Olympics on the same site. It's a very good way for us to showcase the projects that we are doing for the community to prepare them for a sustainable post-pandemic world. This was an exhibition or a competition, sorry, that we did for our students in the 10-year anniversary of the department, where we asked students to design a future of architecture. And it shows the graduates on the right-hand side, but it was actually only 10% that were able to attend because the others were not able to come in. And this future exhibition, the central image, shows that the student that won the competition designed or analyzed on what we have in lockdown around us and identified 5,000 items in the household and designed out of the items actually then the space. So the fabric becomes actually our consumerism and becomes the architecture at the same time. we realized that we have struggles in bringing across the same message than if we are with the students or with colleagues in the room. So we switched to more movie making and ended up doing 2 movies for the Aga Khan Foundation in Geneva on projects that had won or had been nominated for Aga Khan, and trying to connect into a storytelling mode to the students as well as to the larger community, where we normally would invite them and give a public lecture. We ended up converting those into movies because we found it is easier and more accessible. And then lastly, at the end, all of these digital means of connecting, whether it is Zoom, which saves a lot of time also in traveling, but at the same time, key in the next slide, it's very clear that it's actually the people that we are working with. And whether you are physically together or whether you are in the post-pandemic or pandemic time where you are not together in one location, it's really quintessential to build up this community and reaching out also to people that we're working with that could not come to China and we've been working with for 2 years. And then when they are arriving finally in China, we realize, oh, they're much taller than we thought, because in Zoom, everything sort of seems to be in a different manner actually positioned. So what I wanted to sort of summarize, education quite dramatically changed, and we've embraced this digital side, but what comes very clearly across is that the EQ side, the interaction with people, is so vital in getting these successfully done. And we would need more digital tools that help us to bridge across the time zone divide and the differences maybe in languages, etc., on it, to make it easier for us to become effective global educator in a post-pandemic world, to be more sustainable, that we also don't need to travel everywhere. It does definitely have advantages, and that's what I would like to end the talk with, is a couple of images actually of Suzhou silk cocoon, and they are naturally colored by what the silkworm actually eats. It creates its own habitat, but it creates it on what environment and diet he actually lives on. And as an architect, we are habitat designers at the end of the day. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so very much for presenting such detailed information to us. We clearly are aware of the fact that even during this pandemic time, when we were locked away, you were so busy preparing students and connecting the dots around the world from your universities, whether it was through arts and craft or recycling or collaboration. One-on-one, you were working with people across the globe, the more developed country, with those who need your help most. And I'm sure at the end of this presentation that there'll be many questions that people will have for you. So we appreciate your presentation and thank you so very, very much. As we go on to the next presenter, we have Ms. Akio Aito is coming to us. She is serving as a secretariat of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Person with Disabilities. So we will hear from her now, as she will share what has been going on as we connecting the dots with the disabled. Ms. Aito.
Hello, hi, good morning. Good morning to all, and I would like to first of all express my great appreciation to Professor Diane Davis for her kind invitation to this meeting. And at the outset, I would like to just mention that my remarks will be focused on addressing missing links between disability and connectivity, but with a focus on intersectionality between disability and aging as one example. As you may recall, SDG is a global framework that connects us all and connects different groups to work toward the same goal of promoting, again, inclusion, prosperity, and sustainability. And we all have our definitions and also our actually own areas, so where we stand, where we actually start this this collective endeavor, global endeavor, to bear fruits at the local and national, regional, different levels. And in this context, you may be aware that the United Nations has been promoting 3 pillars of the global endeavor, as in our case at this this time of history, the SDGs, the 2030 Development Agenda. As you may be aware, that we have human rights, development, and peace and security as 3 pillars of the work of the United Nations. And the SDGs framework is actually the global common attempt to bring those pillars together, just integrate them into one big framework as 2030 Development Agenda, and then to explore how best we can actually make the maximize our advantages as a newly formulated groups, or based on a newly formulated approach to promoting connectivity, for example, in our discussion today. So in this context, you may already know that we, from the human rights standpoint, our unit is focused on disability, but we've been very much aware of the fact that persons with disabilities are not, again, this homogeneous, just one homogeneous society group. We are addressing a number of other social groups at the same time, because disability is a cross-cutting issue in the context of human rights, and as well as in other issues like development and peace and security. So in this sense, we have been pursuing our work within a human rights framework, but also trying to approach human rights and social development from the standpoint of such again from the standpoint of intersectionality, and from the standpoint of identifying what is missing, from the previous again phase of our work. Because in the previous phase we focused on, okay, so this is a work that we do for persons with disabilities, so we have to focus on women as well. And yes, we do have children with disabilities. We do have to address the situation of women and girls with disabilities. So we would, for example, mainstream the disability perspective in a context of gender equality, the work that we do for gender equality and empowerment of women, or we actually try to mainstream the disability perspective in children's rights, and children include child's rights, and then the child's rights inclusion in the context of development of peace and security. But as we know today, we go more in depth and see how best we can actually, again, address those intersectionalities, so that we will be able to address missing links, as well as strengthening the original original groups that we addressed: persons with disabilities, older persons, youth, children. And our unit has been co-chairing interagency group on disability of the UN system, as well as sub-working group on women and girls with disabilities in a context of. Pardon?
Oh, sorry, one more minute.
Sorry?
One more minute. We have a time limit.
One more.
You
Okay.
one more minute. Yeah.
Yes. So sorry. I'm just continuing with this background.
No problem. No problem.
Yes. So with this background, I would just like to I like to mention that in the context of missing links between disability and aging, we have also been addressing these issues through different mechanisms and also a number of different research projects within the United Nations system. And I hope that you'll be able to have access to some of the research work that may be relevant to your work. Just as an example, we have again the international frameworks that apply to older persons with disabilities. And in the context implementing again the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, we are also looking at the Political Declaration of Madrid, International Plan of Action on Aging, the World Health Assembly's Global Strategy and Action Plan on Aging and Health 2016-2020, and the WHO's Decade of Healthy Aging 2020 to 2030, support older persons. But I think we are trying to address the specifics of disability and then missing links between how those who may not be addressed either by disability group, the work that we do for disability and the work that's done by aging can be actually pursued. And in order for us to be able to understand that we can that we need to really move on to these important tasks. We have also looked into different aspects of the COVID-19 crisis that really demonstrates this accentuated again a result of these missing links. Just as an example, we have actually organized meetings together with Global Forum on Women and Girls with Disabilities, and they have also addressed that their issues, their concerns as women and girls with disabilities are not sufficiently addressed in the context of the disability community, nor aging, nor in terms of older women with disabilities, nor in the context of women's rights. So they are actually trying to work with different communities and try to see again how best they can actually address local priorities to start with. But I think we can also address this type of situation from the global platform, from the global perspective, so that we would be able to address connectivity, which is a crucial aspect of addressing the current problems under COVID-19 impacted world. So I'm sorry, I think I'm using too much time. So just to close up my just short remarks, I think it's important for us to be able to address those missing links in order for us to truly address connectivity, because if we are missing those populations, those groups of people who are not fully addressed or included in a key groups that we try to work with, then we are not really addressing, we're not really we're not really making enough effort to achieve the goal of 2030 Development Agenda and SDGs for all. So thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for reminding us of the missing links between disabilities and our common interests for doing things as we try to connect ourselves around the world to really get over and solve some of the issues in poverty, hunger, and achieving sustainability. You were very thorough in presenting to us that we must definitely include what's going on from a global endeavor with women, girl, age, as well as those young children who may need to be recognized at this moment, not only because they have some disability issues, but they need to be included in our program and discussion as we connect the dots. Thank you so very much. And I'm sure there'll be questions questions for you at the end of our presentation. Our next presenter coming to us is Mr. John Kill, and he is the co-founder and owner of Soundtrack Recordings Studio. Mr. Kill?
Thank you, Georgiana, and good morning, everyone. At least it's morning here in New York City. And thank you, Professor Diane Davis, for inviting me. While Akiko was talking, she mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals, which is going to be part of my presentation, but it reminded me that Dee and I met shortly before the Millennium Development Goals celebrated their 10th anniversary, and things were going very slowly, and yet they had much to be proud of. There was tremendous successes already by the 10th year. And the wonderful thing about the Millennium Development Goals is they were successful enough to make this even larger commitment. And we're now in the 6th year of 15 years in the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's what I'm doing with my dear friend, Jackie Marston. Jackie, do we hear you if you say hello? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can
Yes.
let her in.
Jackie, do we hear you?
Okay.
Here we go. I gave her the permission to unmute.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
Okay, now I can. I had it unmuted, so in case the dogs barked.
Well, and I've got people installing a new floor up above me. I hope you don't hear the pounding. But Jackie and I have written a children's book series. And one of the purposes of the children's book series is to introduce children. We're talking, 3rd graders to 5th graders about the Sustainable Development Goals, which will be a big part of their lives, hopefully, as they grow up. We're also musicians. And in fact, that's how I met Dee Davis. I got involved with her music as a global resource initiative, where we went around the world and found over 100 programs that use music, not for entertainment values, but for social development values. And we found amazing programs, and that compendium you can find at the UN. Music as a global resource is the name of that initiative. So let me play what has come out of our book series, actually, though, is a series of videos. So I want to play you one of our videos that's all about sustainability. And bear with
You're the host now, so you can
okay.
screen
So
share.
I am the host, and boom,
With the
boom.
most.
Yes, exactly. So stand by, share. I'm hitting the share button. We're going to go to YouTube here. And I'm going to stop and just ask, is everyone hearing music at this point?
Yes.
Yes, if you could turn up
Yes.
higher, that'd be better too.
Okay, I'll see if I can't make
But
that.
it is decently clear as is.
Okay, great. I got a little more goose here. And here we go.
No package, no ribbon, no velvet, oh. But the greatest gift has been given. Thunders over the plains where the rivers flow. In spite of the way we've been living, children of the precious earth, we're wasting our most treasured word. It's time we stop pretending like it goes on, never ending. This gift you've been given from the moment you open your eyes. Open your eyes. This gift you've been given on, never ending. This gift you've been given, hold the future on which you rely. This gift you've been given, comes a moment that won't be denied. Your children, heart and spaces in a race. They're burning, world changers. No one left to blame. This gift you've been given, the deafening silence she tries. This gift you've been given, to remind you to open your eyes. This gift has been given, ever after the kingdom survives. This gift.
And I think we might be out of time. It reminds me, I should probably do the AM radio edit of this. So,
You should also post the link to this YouTube video in the chat so people can watch or share it later.
okay, I will do that. Great.
And thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to get to show everyone the work.
Well, I will mention as a tag, the same technology that the 20-somethings are inventing to connect us around the world is the technology that Jackie and I use to make these videos. Jackie and I had never made a video before. We had written many songs, but this democratization of power, so to speak, is infiltrating all aspects of our lives. And it's great that there are these tools that we can use for this kind of messaging. Back to you, Georgiana.
Okay, thank you so very much. You brought us back to the children who were locked away during this pandemic time. We didn't see them. They didn't connect with each other. But just to know that in this time of trying to find ways to link us up together to make sure that we are connecting all the dots. And I'm so excited that we have connected to children and show us ways in which we can bring them in, as well as to show what they're doing. I was excited to see the children from all over the world. Those smiling faces just brought such tears almost to my little eyes as I was thinking, say, it's so great to see children smiling again. Thank you so very much for your sustainability in connecting us with the children in this time. Our next presenter, no stranger to us, is Miss Laura Gong. Laura is from the Walton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, and she will come now with her presentation. Laura.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm Laura Gong, and once we get the slides up, we can get rolling. But today I'm just going to be sharing a little bit about the blue economy and especially how it's been affected during COVID and the next steps to hopefully after COVID, we can bring that hyperconnectivity and sustainability in. So yes, so in this case, the context of the blue economy, I wanted to share a little bit on the environmental side as well as the economic side. And so moving on to the next slide, we can kind of see what are the effects that COVID has had on the environmental side. whether it's healthier reefs because there's less tourists and less boats, but we are also seeing a decrease in boat activity too, and especially a rollback on environmental protection. So a lot of the regulations have not really been in place because governments have not been stressing the importance of the marine life, and because they're a bit more focused with the health side of things. But I think it is still very important to keep these environmental protections regulated and consistent, even during and after COVID. And on the economic side, we're seeing how COVID has affected lockdowns and curfew so that fishermen don't have as much time to fish, which has reduced their income and their living standards, as well as in small island developing states, we're seeing a huge decline in GDP, which has been affected mainly by tourism. Just a 25% drop in tourism will also cause a 7.3% decline in GDP. So we're seeing how COVID has these mixing positive and negative effects on the marine communities, and focusing on both, we're able to bring sustainability. So moving on to the types of technologies that have been enhanced because of COVID. One type of system that has been particularly gaining popularity is AIS, so just as automatic identification systems. And so these can be placed on ships or on satellites. And as we're having these microsatellites being placed around the world, we're able to track ship movement and information such as size, types of ships, and that movement is really important for us in the solutions that we're going to be able to implement later. And it's becoming increasingly important, especially because AIS systems were able to track the spread of the virus during COVID. So people are becoming more used to AIS, and hopefully we're seeing this increase in popularity in the marine ecosystem as well. Another technology we're seeing increasing is acoustic receivers, and these are devices placed in the ocean that can count the number of large animals who make sounds, especially whale calls or seal barks, and also can detect the migration patterns as well. And so this is just a less invasive way that we are initially seeing tags being placed on the animal. This does not need to have any physically invasive solutions placed on the animal. So with the decrease in boat activity that we've been seeing in COVID, we were actually able to place 5 receivers in the Arctic Ocean and 6 receivers near the Guam. And through this, we're able to create solutions. And what we can achieve is, number one, improved fishing seasons. We've seen that the natural cycles of fish actually differentiate with the fishing seasons that were kind of estimated. But now with this greater detail about the natural systems and migration patterns, we're able to narrow down a fishing season that would be better for both fishermen and the environment as well. Also, we're seeing increased responsibilities for boats and ships as they're being tracked down. They cannot move into these protective areas, and also a refined protection environment. That way we can see the natural migration patterns and really narrow the environmental protection locations. Rather than estimating, we're able to see the true natural systems. So now the next steps that we're hoping to take that I wanted to point out is transparency and the financing. So on the transparency side, we had a case study done in Jamaica where they implemented AIS to fishermen, and they gave these fishermen grants. That way they can implement mandatory AIS systems. And this just helped Jamaica better regulate small scale fishing and transition to the digital economy as well. So with this, transparency brings an increase of confidence to investors and quality of returns for investors to finance with blue bonds, which are really important. They're basically bonds just related to ocean related projects or companies that deliver on SDGs related to the ocean. And so for an example, if a shipping company that are producing ships wants to implement AIS and other new tracking devices and sustainable devices, they might be able to take out a blue bond with that. And so this financing helps increase the options and technology for hyperconnectivity, for transparency, while transparency increases the confidence in financing. And so both with transparency and financing, with the integration of technology, are we really able to implement sustainability for both the environmental factors and economic factors. So just wanted to say thank you so much for letting me share a little bit about the blue economy, marine life, especially during and after COVID. And hopefully we can really bring back our marines ecosystems.
We appreciate your presentation because you have really enhanced our understanding of how this entire system is connected, not only to us, but to one another, and which we were looking at. We were linking technology through blue economy on the health side, on the economy side, as well as on the side where we have to be much more concerned about our development of how we are living in this world today. So we thank you so very much for your presentation. And we believe that everyone have gained something from you today, because we are looking now at linking all of this together, because COVID-19 did not just affect our health, it affected us in all areas of our living. And we thank you so very much again for your presentation. Looking forward to sharing with you later. Our next and final, I believe, presenter is Dr. Josephine Ojimbo. Now, she is a very awesome person coming to us. She is the immediate past Deputy Secretary General of the Commonwealth and also the former ambassador to the United States from Africa. And we thank you very much for coming to us at this moment. Dr. Josephine?
I don't believe she's here. If you can, Josephine, if you are here, maybe you could type it in the chat, but going down the list of people, I don't believe she is.
Okay, thank you. Well, that will give us a little time then to do a few questions before the lady who brought us all together today. So if there are any questions that you have, you can either put it in the chat box, or we're listening to you to come by and spend a few minutes in sharing what you may have some interest in at this time. We open now for questions. Okay, I see one question coming into us, and you can send them in the chat box, or you may ask them on your own. What is the role of community in pandemic times, and how will communities' life have changed in a post-pandemic world? And that question is being directed to Dr. Gisela.
Okay, thank you, Georgiana. It's difficult with the post-pandemic world because we are all sort of, in some respects, I think some of us still believe we want to go back to what we had beforehand, but we all subconsciously also know it will not go back to what we had. And I think it will automatically be a lot more digital. And the importance of interconnections with people, I think, comes more and more clear, because we see how much we as individuals as well as academics or architects actually rely on having that connection to others. And I think also what John sort of presented with the music actually being able to connect, all of these other issues that are not maybe the profession, it's not the money, it's not the job, become much, much more important, this connectivity, and also importance of linking to others that you would normally maybe meet when you would travel, but these alternative systems of connections become much more important.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
We have a question from Caitlin Banes.
Okay.
She's raising her hand, and Caitlin, if you'd like, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everyone that presented. This was such a highly informational topic, and I have two brief questions. One for Ms. Marston and Mr. Keel, and the other for Ms. Gong. So if I may, that first question for Mr. Keel and Ms. Marston, the books and regarding the books and music that you've created for the song was beautiful. I was wondering for when those are released, or when they're distributed, do any of those books and songs kind of come together as like a accompanying reader to the song, or a song that has like a reader background, or are they typically distributed or shared separately?
There, do you want me to answer, John? Oh, he's muted. Yeah, Caitlin, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
They can. She can. Well, Caitlin, I just wanted to tell you that the books, if you go to Come See the Magic, oh, Caitlin can unmute, Sam. But if you can hear me, if you go to www.comeseethemagic.unfold, you'll find all the music and the books there. And the music you can download for free. And I've also done the audio version. So you have, those are all included when you purchase a book. And meanwhile, you can listen just on the site. You don't have to buy a book. So that's how that's working.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. The work you've done is truly incredible to be able to target the next generation of understanding these SDGs, because they have that opportunity to experience it from a very young age, to be able to consider how to address them in their future at a younger age, which is excellent. And Ms. Gong, the information you provided was so beautifully condensed. It was, you shared so much information in those few slides, yet there's a lot to be discussed and unpacked from that. So I wanted to ask, just as a brief follow-up to your introduction, I haven't really heard of AIS or AR at all before your introduction. So this is certainly a topic that I hope to learn more about. In terms of approaching different case studies that your department would like to pursue, what are the different considerations that you take, whether they be bioethical or biotechnological? How do you go about finding the right case study for the type of research you're doing? And thank you again.
That's a really great question, Caitlin. So one of the main things that I work on is research with like marine life. And so because I'm part of the school, I only do have so many choices, which I guess helps narrow it down. One reason why we picked Guam to put the AR acoustic receivers down was because of its relations with United States, and therefore the university was quite well. So we were able to have that mobility in putting ARs there. And another reason why it was the migration patterns, and it's more of a developing country. So I think those are the three key things we take a look at. But we do want to see something with a good amount of marine life and healthy marine ecosystems. Again, something that my university would let me do is also a big thing as well. And a third, something more on the developing side of the developing countries and developing communities as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, thank you. Very thoroughly. Thank you so much, both to you and to Ms. Marston for responding to my questions. Have a great day, and I very much appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think at this time, can I go down? We're about to come to the end of our program, but before we do that, we want to present to you the person who is behind the wheel to make this all spin and go seamlessly, connecting all of us together. She has been one who has found and brought us together from Africa, China, Israel, the United Nations, to be coming here together from all different parts of the world, from different backgrounds, and presenting to you during this time that we've all been separated physically in many ways, but had to bring us together, connecting us to connect the dots of poverty, hunger, and achieving sustainability as we are about to come out of this pandemic that has held us hostage for more than 2 years. The person that I'm talking about is none other than Professor Diane Davis, who's the president of the International Council for Caring communities, commonly known to us as ICC. I'd like to present to you at this time Dr. Davis, who is a real powerful force in connecting people together to make sure we stay together as we work hard to overcome poverty, hunger, as we achieve sustainability at this time. Professor Diane.
Thank you. Can I be here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Sorry. Thank you very much, everybody. On behalf of ICCC, I want to thank all of our change agents for their input in making this event a most meaningful contribution to and in support of the UN Commission for Social Development. We are honored to stimulate new insights towards hyperconnectivity and its impact on poverty and hunger. I am sure we have all gained from the unique endeavors and creative leadership expressed during the session. Now let's spread our wings through related actions in achieving sustainability in the post-COVID world. A dream said to be impossible in 1993 has proven over the years that imagining the possible works, especially if we outreach to local youth and older persons as change agent partners, respecting their wisdom, thus fostering inclusion of their creative talents in implementing ideas expressed during this session. Without the commitment of so many of you, ICC colleagues around the world, our mission would not be possible. We look forward to your questions in the chat box and will answer as many as possible. Again, many thanks for attending and knowing most of you and have stayed up all night to join us. We deeply appreciate your interest and cooperation, and a very special thanks to the entire virtual team that made this all possible. Wishing you all the best and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.